We turn to page 126 for Hine Matov. My voice is going, which is not better 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah than on Rosh Hashanah. Page 100.
Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad.
Page 128, Dodi Li, my beloved is mine, and I am my beloved, and within him, hidden. Gina, this is your favorite because hidden is the acronym for
Elul.
Elul, and we are in the month of Elul, which for me is very scary always because Rosh Hashanah is at the end of the month of Elul, and we are 3 weeks. Why was I thinking it was 2 weeks?
No, it's 3 weeks.
Are you sure? Did I get an extra week? Did I score an extra week? Did I score an extra week?
I'm pretty sure it's 3 weeks.
Well, next week I'm in, 3 weeks. Yeah. I got an extra week.
Right, so we're just going to sing the first line a couple of times. Dodi li vani lo hawe bashoshanim dodi li vani lo hawe bashoshanim dodi li. Once more. Dodi li vani lo haroe bashoshanim dodi li.
Oh, I know where I went wrong. It's only 2 more Shabbatot, but 3 weeks.
That's right, yes.
That's where I went wrong.
Because Rosh Hashanah this year is also
on Shabbat.
Yeah.
That's where I went wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's a perfect segue into this reading on page 125. Where has this week vanished? Where has it vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain? The sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom. On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic time. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat abide. Page 131 as Kabbalat Shabbat continues with Kirshmera Shabbat.
Sorry, I put the wrong page number. It's 128, my mistake.
128. Towards the bottom of the page, the second from the bottom.
Ki yishmera Shabbat, yishmereini. Ki yishmera Shabbat, yishmereini. Oti le'ol me'ad beinu veini. Oti le'ol me'ad beinu veini. Ki yishmera Shabbat, yishmereini.
And we turn to Lachad Odi on page 138. Now, we don't sing all the verses. We sing verse 1, 2, They are numbered on the side, 5 and 9.
Lecha lecha dodi, likat likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likat likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. La la lecha dodi, likat likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmiyanu elam yochad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. L'Shem ol tiferet v'litil la 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 lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki himeko haberacha, merosh mekedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshava la 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 la, lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki va'orech gumi uri, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai al yarech la 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 la, lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzolo, toch emunei am segula, boi chala. Lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabela.
And so as we welcome Shabbat and the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat Kala, we welcome Shabbat with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. And Judith, I invite you to light our Shabbat candles, and you light them in honor of your grandfather, Esau Maisel. And are you going to share a few words? Beautiful. Yeah. And, or you can say a few words first, whatever is your preference.
My grandfather, Esau Maisel, was born in Minsk in 1875. He was the son of Bella and Joseph Maisel. He married Leah Cohen, who was to become my grandmother, at Perth Hebrew Congregation, and they had 4 sons, Alec, Sam, Harry, and Philip was my father. Very sadly, my grandmother Leah died at the age of 43. My grandfather was a leading member of the Jewish community for many years. He was the president of Perth Hebrew Congregation for 2 years, was founder of Worth's Men's Stores, was a member of Princess Margaret Hospital on the board, and a benefactor of all Jewish charitable organisations. My grandfather Esau married again and had two daughters, Eva and Vida, who were lovely step-aunts to me. My grandfather died of a major heart attack at the age of 75. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov, v'tzivanu lahad lignei shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And may Esau's memory truly be for a blessing.
Thank you very
Amen.
much, Kim.
Amen. Let's take a moment and turn to those around us, wishing one another Shabbat Shalom, and we certainly welcome those joining us on our live streaming. And welcome, Erwin.
Yes, Shabbat Shalom. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Wodjak people of the Noongar Nation, and I pay my respects to elders, both past and present. On page 142, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Bochem l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Vahuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedrem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
Let us rise for Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash le'rava, ve'alma divrach yirotzei yamlech malchutei, v'chol yechol uvyom echol uvrei b'chol beit Yisrael. Hagala b'hagala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olam me'amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach
Page 148. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidbaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sharim, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה גולה אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבת אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 157, standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Our song of freedom, Micha Mocha, but it is to the high holiday melody. So don't look so scared, even though I'm scared.
You sang it last week.
We did.
Yes. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nida ba'kodesh, nocha tehilot osefele malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Elianu v'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam ba'ed v'ne'ema ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugelo u'miyat hazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Amen.
I'm reminded of one of my professors lots of professors shared lots of different stories over the years, whether from the different rabbinic schools that I went to, whether it was the one in London or the one in Israel or from Los Angeles, who said, somebody shared a story that if Moses was to walk into your shul right now, wouldn't recognize anything you would be doing. It's like, well, this is not, this is not Judaism for Moses. And I think it must be a little bit like that for anybody new coming into anybody new going into any community. It must feel a little bit like that. It was like, where are the melodies that I'm familiar with? Where are my... when you sing a new melody, whether it's a Craig Taubman melody or a Idor Sagir melody, if somebody's never heard it before, like, where are the melodies of my grandfather? And then when Louis Lewandowski, who is from the 18th century, first plays his melodies, and they'll say, where are the melodies of the 1500s? Why do you have to change things? And so, Erwin, I think a little bit about you. You coming in from other, possibly a different shul. You're like, where are the melodies I'm familiar of? Especially when we sang a completely different Lechad Odi. It must feel so strange. It's like it would be the same for my father coming in and playing the Taubman melody of Lechad Odi. He'd be banging like, that's not the melody we grew up with at Etz Chaim in Johannesburg. Or Temple Israel in Johannesburg. It's like, it must feel so strange, because for what is traditional for one person is not traditional for somebody else. And it's just odd, the English tradition, I'm even going to say it out there, the tradition for what Rabbi Dan at PHC, his tradition is completely different to South African Orthodox, is completely different to American Orthodox or, French Orthodox. There's no such thing as one tradition. So I love it when somebody walks into my outfit and said, I grew up traditional. I'm like, which traditional? Define that for me. Because there is no such thing as traditional. So I just love those. I just love those. And you know what becomes traditional? It's what you get. It's what you used to, or it's what you get used to. So it's what you get used to, and over time. So it's just about, it's about having a little bit of patience. Sometimes you sometimes even recognize that, that vanilla slice is not what my grandmother used to make, and it's like, oh well.
And next week there'll be a different lachadudi.
Yeah, it's like somebody once said to me, "You don't look like my grandmother's or my grandfather's rabbi." It's like, I'm not. But I'm not your grandmother's, your grandfather's rabbi. Yeah. So anyway, let's turn to Hashkivenu on page 160. A prayer for shelter, and a prayer for safety, and a prayer for peace, all wrapped into one.
Beautiful. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporesu kat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. We turn to Vishamru on page 162. Gina, this would be a perfect time to ask everybody for tomorrow. That Vishamru, we're not going to do it, but Vishamru or Yismachu.
Yismachu, yeah, but quite a few people here don't come tomorrow morning.
No, but it's a good question to ask.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
When last, Judith would know, when last was Yismachu sung here?
The Shabbat morning one.
Yismachu Hashem.
No, that's the Friday evening one. It's got a different text.
No, it doesn't. No,
okay.
No?
Yes.
Yismachu Hashamayim.
Yeah, but this is the one. This is Yismachu b'malchutecha shomrei Shabbat b'korei oneg. This is this one.
No, I know, but Yismachu.
Yismachu Hashem. We sing that often on a Shabbat evening. Yeah, that one we do, but not this one, not this text.
I know. We never sing this one.
Yeah.
You always sing it at Daven and Dawn?
Yeah, but that's Yismachu Hashamayim.
Hashamayim.
Yismachu Hashamayim.
Does that ring a bell? I want you.
Yismachu Hashamayim.
But you sing it at Daven and Dawn.
Yeah, but not this text.
But that's a Friday.
one,
But
yeah.
that's the Saturday morning version. Did you know that? It's traditional. But did you know it's a Saturday morning text?
No,
By the way,
it's a Shabbat
Catherine
evening
and
text.
Michael are watching, or at
Oh,
least
right, yes.
Catherine's watching online.
It's a Shabbat evening text, though.
I know, I had to look at my phone
Yeah.
to see who is watching us online. That's one for the books. The rabbi's looking at her phone online.
Yeah, this is Shabbat evening. Yismachu b'shamayim.
Yeah, I'm looking. We're in this Friday night service.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We sing that a lot on Friday evening.
Vema.
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah.
Once. Anyway, let's keep going, otherwise we'll never finish the service, and some of us will be very hungry.
So back to Vishamru.
And God forbid you should be hungry. Oy vey.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת עין נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Before we move into the Amidah, I should let you know I'm being heckled online. I've been told to stop talking and for Gina to start singing. I know it says stop chatting and start singing, please. Well, at least they were polite, Gina.
Yep.
And it said Sid Goldstein used to sing Yusmachu when he and Barbara led services. But I don't know if that was for Shabbat morning or for Erev Shabbat.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning we will sing the Shabbat morning version.
We'll do the Shabbat morning.
Not the.
All right, and to those of you who are heckling me, we'll stand for the Amidah on page 164. They do heckle me a lot, especially on Saturday morning. I get heckled. So.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufia gitelatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufia gitelatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Eloteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ha'nora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zochei Chasei Avot V'imahot U'mevii Gula Lifnei B'nechem למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בסוד צלח אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מסריח השמש ומוריד הטל מחבר חיים בחסד בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים צומח נופלים רופא עולים ומתי אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשוני עפר מחמוך עבר גבורות ומידו מלך מלך בני ומחיי ומצמיח ישועה ונאמנתו לחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue now with the prayers of our hearts and time for meditation, or we continue in the Siddurim from page 172, reading either the right-hand page or the left-hand page, coming together with Oseh Shalom on page 182. And once we are finished with our prayers, we have a seat. That also gives Gina and I an indication that you're finished. Ratzonim Refi V'Hegion Libi Lefanecha Adonai Tzuri B'Goali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
Oseh Shalom b'mromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Thou kol yoshvei tevel, my God, bring peace to the inhabitants of the world, and let us say,
Amen.
Amen. This week's Parsha Ki Tetzeh is probably one of the most incredible parshiot because it has 72, its claim to fame is that it has 72 mitzvot in it. And you're smiling. Neil, you're smiling.
I was listening to some whispering from the peanut gallery.
So you weren't amused by anything I was saying. Oh my gosh. Never anything I would say would be anything worthwhile you to actually be amused by. It doesn't matter. In it talks about what happens when, going to war. It talks about how to treat a woman who is a captive. I was a little bit amused by the text because it only focuses on if you take captive a beautiful woman. I was like, well, what if she's not so beautiful? Why does she have to cut her nails? So that maybe she doesn't attack her captor. That would make sense. But he does have to wait 30 days before he can if her captor is so in love with her, he does have to wait 30 days before he can take up a relationship with her if they fall in love. Some say because it's to end the mourning period, because the shloshim would make sense. I would say that it's not the shloshim. I would say because that she's mourning the fact that she can't be with her family. I would say that there's a more pragmatic reason, which would be? Correct. To make sure, that would be the logical reason, that she is not pregnant if she could have had relations with somebody else or been raped along the way, and then, there's this, because we know what the rabbi's biggest fear is, that there would be a mamzer, a child of doubtful or dubious descent. But the question is, why is there so much focus? Let's put that aside. Why is there so much focus? We're getting so close to the high holidays. We're only 2 Shabbatot and 3 weeks away. As we established at the beginning of the service, why is there so much focus on 72 mitzvot, commandments, so close to the high holidays? What is the point of it? And the rabbis will obviously, some of the rabbis will say, oh, well, this is to spiritually prepare ourselves for these great days. But I want to say it's actually got a different message, and a message that I want to explore a little bit more and perhaps spend a little bit more time tomorrow during Shabbat morning services, is I want to suggest that it has a greater message for civilization as a whole, and perhaps even the underpinning of Jewish civilization, and a more of an ethical and moral test for the Jewish people at the time, or the Israelite people at the time. What would you say is the main test for a moral government? It's not a rhetorical question, just in case you're thinking it was a rhetorical question, and you could go to sleep on me. Yes. The ultimate test for a moral government is how, you're very close, Ken, it's how well a government takes care of those in the dawn of its life, those in the sunset of its life, and those in the shadows. Now, I wish I could remember where the quote comes from. Anybody? Judith, it seems like something you would know, either Judith's. And yet you don't. I think there was an American philosopher that said something like that. It sounds like an American sociologist. So the test of a moral government is one that takes care of its people in the dawn of its life, in the dusk of its life, and in the shadows. So the dawn are children, the dusk are the elderly, and the shadows of those people who struggle, those people who are disabled, those people who I'm going to use the biblical terms, the widow, the orphan, those people who live in poverty. And those are all things that are encompassed in this week's parasha, this week's parasha forces us to evaluate, because it talks about leaving the corners of the field as well. It takes about looking after the widow and the orphan. It talks about taking care of the elderly. This parasha looks at all of those. It talks about what to do when we are attacked by an enemy as well. So looking after a nation state. And in terms of also Amalek, it also brings in Amalek. And we know who Amalek was. He was that warrior who didn't attack Israel head on. He went after the weak. So it's a parsha that is replete with so many different things in terms of what we can do, 72 mitzvot, and what we can do in terms of the ethical and moral standards of what we can do in terms of a community, and how we can take care of our people. And as we head into the high holidays, it's just that reminder, and I think a very poignant reminder of what haven't we been doing to take care of our people. As a congregation, as a community, as a wider community, I could get quite political right now, but I might not. Maybe I'll just be quiet on that front. I do know that on Monday we have Mark Dreyfus coming to speak to our Jewish community. If anybody wants to come listen to him, he's going to be speaking at Chabad Noranda. Just to give you, did you read what I wrote in our weekly? He's a member of Temple Beth Israel. I do know him personally. He's a progressive Jew. He and his wife used to come to my shul. I used to see him quite regularly, my claim to fame is I do know the Attorney General. I used to run into him at Coles all the time on Glenferrie Road in Melbourne. So I think that, the question is, it is our civil and moral duty, our ethical duty, that when we vote on whatever issue, and I'm not talking about whatever referendum is coming up soon, and I'm really not, that we use Torah portions such as this one, Ki Tetzeh, as a guide to say what is it, and we may interpret it differently, and because that's who we are as people. Philip's smiling at me. We may use the Torah to understand what are our ethical and moral understandings of the world. And I'm not here to tell you how you should or shouldn't vote on different issues. That's not my mandate as a rabbi, even though I may do something differently. But I'll always share with you what the Torah says. So have a look closely, if you can, at this week's parasha, Ki Tetzeh. It might surprise you on what it says. Shabbat Shalom. Erwin, I'll invite you up on page 586. And yes, that's a wonderful idea. We will sound the shofar, and I'm glad everybody is standing. Erwin is going to be very close to the sounding of the shofar. We're going to sound the shofar first.
Okay.
I always forget. Can you sound the shofar? I can't ask you to do it. I just want a bit of water.
Yeah, sure.
Isn't this a call for justice, the sounding of the shofar?
Tekiah. Shavarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shavarim teruah. Tekiah. I love the sound of that one. עלינו לשבח לעול הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא את הארץ, ומושב יקרו השמיים ממעל, ושבינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא את הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושבינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, עמד מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Sure.
It jumps around.
Sure. Thanks.
So we turn forward to the Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. And for Shiva and for Shloshim, we think of Malcolm Valencia, partner of Mallory Valencia, Neville Weiner, and Julia Frey, Selwyn Glenister, stepson of Margaret, Sarah Bella Green, daughter of Jeanette Bates, and Rebecca Natrup, cousin of Terry Boyd. As we're heading into the yard sites, Judith, I know you got yard sites. Are you going to share tonight or tomorrow or both? Tomorrow. Remember Lillian Strasberg, grandmother of Joanna Eaton, Alexander Hartz, father of Jeanette Hartz-Karp, Esau Mazo, grandfather of Judith Arkwright, John McGowan, brother-in-law of Terry Boyd, David Stanwick's husband of Shirley, Dorothy Lemkin, grandmother of Marilyn Selden, Grace Elizabeth Kim, granddaughter of Valerie Scott, and Zenon Stenwich, grandfather of Nadine Perlin, Alan Hirsch, father of Deb Hirsch, father-in-law of Mark Israel, grandfather of Alec, John, Zach, and Asher, and Jan Schneider, father of Judith Schneider. Anyone else would like to remember someone for Shiva, for Shloshim, or for Yahrzeit? And so together, as is our custom, we'll share the Mourner's Kaddish. Unless, Margaret, you'd like to share a few words tonight? Oh. Page 598. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamar divrach kiritei v'yamlich malchutei, achayachon v'yomechon, v'v'chayedacho beit Yisrael, v'gala v'zman kariv v'meru.
Amen.
Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevarach L'olam U'Lamei Maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitzadar v'yitzaleh v'yitzhalal Shemei D'Kudasha B'rechu. Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush berchata v'nechamata. Damiran v'yalma v'yimarur.
Amen.
Yehei Shlam Rabba min Shemaya. Chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimur.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimur. Amen. And so as we share Hamakom Yinachem Echem b'toch Shah Havlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim, may the source of peace send peace and comfort to you who mourn amongst all who are bereaved in Zion and Jerusalem and around the world. And we say, Amen. Just a couple of announcements, or a few announcements, before we head into the foyer for Kiddush. We have religious school tomorrow. That's when all the children will be around, although they're downstairs. TDRS at 9 o'clock, and our Shabbat morning services at 10:30. And I believe there's coffee club and book club. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
There's both.
Different crowds.
Different crowds. You're conflicted if you have both. And then, of course, Monday at 10:45, it's to 12:30. We've got the Honourable Mark Dreyfus, our Attorney General, as I mentioned. You have to register for that for security reasons. It is at Chabad Noranda, and the reasons I spoke to Jeff Medalia, one of the reasons why it's there is because it's a quick exit and entry onto the freeway for him to get to the airport. That's one of the reasons. Mahjong at 12, Tuesday Yiddish, and Wednesday Shmooze, Israeli dancing, ITJ, Adult B'nai Hebrew, Adult B'nai Mitzvah. There's a lot going on Tuesday. If you would like Rosh Hashanah cards, our religious school is making Rosh Hashanah cards. I'm sure they'll be very cute and beautiful. And don't forget the JNF annual gala. That is happening too. There's a lot happening. I will not be here next Shabbat. I will be in Melbourne. I'm doing a baby naming.
Cute.
So, okay. Any other announcements we should know about? Anything else happening? Shmooze Club? Did I mention Shmooze?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I did mention Shmooze. Our final song is
Hevenu Shalom Aleichem on page 644 at the top of the page. Hevenu Shalom Aleichem, Hevenu Shalom Aleichem, Hevenu Shalom Aleichem, Hevenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem, Hevenu Shalom Aleichem, Hevenu Shalom Aleichem, Hevenu Shalom Aleichem, Hevenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
I got a message to say maybe we're heckling, but at least we're actively involved.
Very true. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let's go out for Kiddush.